Okay, so we're going to have a little look at a tricky question from OCR here for GCSE. And I always say to my students, if you know functions, if you know 2D arrays, if you know loops, you're probably not going to have too many difficulties with any of the questions in paper 2. This particular question has got all three of those things, so it's quite a tricky one. So we're going to go through it and have a look at a solution. So the idea is we have a 2D array, and the 2D array contains codes for pilots. So there's their pilot code, different one for each pilot, and the amount of hours that they've flown. Okay. And what we want to do is we want to make a function, which has been named pilot valid, which will take the pilot code as a parameter, so one of these, and it will calculate if the pilot has flown fewer hours than 9, and it will say valid if they have, so they're okay to fly. Or if they've flown more than 9 hours, it will say warning, which means that they won't be able to fly. And it says use casting where needed. Now, casting is converting from one data type to another. So, for example, from a string to an integer. In this case, we're going to convert to a real number or a float, and I'll explain why shortly. So, here's some code in terms of how we could approach this. We've got the Journeys 2D array. There's the pilot codes, and there's the hours they've flown. And you'll notice that the hours they have flown are what data type? Okay, so if it's got speech marks around, it's going to be a string. So we're going to need to cast those to, as I said, a float, so we can do a calculation on them, okay, or a real number. So we've got our 2D array here, and we call it Journeys. Now, here's the function, and we'll talk about this shortly. But we're going to go down to the main program. Okay, so the main program is just underneath all of these hashes. Okay, so I've got an input for pilot code. So in other words, we type in the code for a pilot, and it will return if they are able to fly, so valid, or not able to fly, warning. So we've got the variable pilot code, which will contain the pilot's code, so one of these. Okay. We are then running the function pilot valid. Okay, so this is this function here. Okay, we have pilot code, which has come from our input. This is going to be an argument, which is going to be sent into the function up here. Okay, because we need the pilot code to check in the 2D array. Okay, so pilot code is going up here, and here it becomes a parameter. Okay, so let's say, for example, we're doing the first one, SM720. So let's say we typed in SM720 down here. Okay, SM720 will now go up here as pilot code, and we now go into the function. We're doing a loop. We're iterating through the array Journeys. Okay, now the reason we're doing this is we have to check to see if the pilot code exists. Okay, so we said SM720. So it will look at the first item in the array, which will be 0, 0. Okay, and if pilot code is equal to the first item in the array, okay, and we know it's going to be 0 because the first number in X, when we have a for X in range or whatever we use there, is 0. Okay, so 0, 0, SM720. Yes, what we've typed in, SM720, is equal to what's in this position in the array. Okay, so if it's equal to that, so if that pilot code exists, we then look at what is in column 1. Okay, so column 1 is 4.5. So that assigns the value 4.5 to hours. Okay. Now at the moment, 4.5 is a string, so we can't really do anything with it calculations wise. So we have to cast it. Okay. So we're going to cast, which means converting it to another data type. Now in this case, we need to convert it to real or float because we've got a decimal place. If we converted it to an integer, we wouldn't get the correct result, because this has a decimal, and real numbers or float uses decimals. So this is how we cast. We simply get the name of the variable. We say what data type we want to cast it to, and then we assign it back to the original variable called hours. Okay, so that changes it to now a float or real number. We then have an if and else statement. So we're saying if the hours is greater than 9, we say warning, so they can't fly. Or if the hours is less than or equal to 9, we say valid, they're okay to fly. Now we know SM720 has flown 4.5 hours, so the outcome for this is less than 9, so therefore it's going to be valid. And we've assigned the string valid to a variable which I've called outcome. Okay. Now, once we've checked the pilot's code and how many hours they've flown, whatever outcome is, whether it's warning or valid, we're going to return this back to the function. So what this means is we go back to the main program, and whatever is outputted from the function will go to whatever name we give this. Okay, so I've called this valid, not valid. Okay, so therefore it should then print out whether the pilot is valid or warning. Okay, so let's have a go and we'll just run it through. So we said pilot SM720. So pilot code SM720. So enter. So it goes into the function, checks if they've got less than 9 hours, which they have because they've got 4.5, and it outputs valid. Okay. And then just to check, we're going to look at a pilot who's got more than 12 hours. More than 9 hours. So RY320. RY320. So this should output warning. Oh, did it? No, I've done it wrong. Hang on, sorry. I typed in the wrong place. Let's try that again. RY320, warning.